afternoon, everybody. No!
Chris Scouser here with
Matt Howell.
On this episode of The First Run, Matt and I attempt to cheat death yet again with a return to the Final Destination franchise with Final Destination Bloodlines. After succumbing to the icy grip of indifferent audiences and diminishing quality, the franchise returns. What insanely complicated plans does death have for our poor victims this time? Then it'll be on to the big releases on physical media featuring your streaming and Viper video picks of the week. And then Matt and I are going to close out the proceedings with our 5 favorite Final Destination kills. So buckle those safety belts, or maybe not. I mean, that's a good way to get trapped in your car, right? If it catches on fire or you go off a cliff into a river or something. I don't know. Just keep your head on a swivel. Keep those peepers peeled. And let's hear a clip from Final Destination Bloodlines.
So, which one of you is next? So, which one of you is next?
Iris said that you'd found somebody who stopped death and survived.
Yes.
And how do we do that?
There are only 2 ways. By killing or by dying. If you take a life, you get the time that person had left.
What? No, I'm not gonna kill someone.
Maybe we should let the guy finish.
And to truly break the cycle, you have to die.
Oh boy, that sounds rough. Matt, that of course is the, I believe, final performance from the dearly departed Tony Todd, who I think goes out well. I think he gets a fitting send-off in this film, so I was very happy about that at the very least. Matt, how familiar are you with the franchise? Have you seen them all?
I haven't. I've only seen the first 3 or so.
Okay. Now, because I am a nerd and don't have much of a life, I actually I've seen them all, but I rewatched all of them over the past week plus because they've been on HBO Max the entire time, though I didn't know that before I bought the Blu-ray box set of the first 5 films. Nice. But it was on Amazon for like $12. So I remember enjoying it enough that I thought, you know what, that's fine. One thing I did forget, though, is that Mew is in part 3. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is actually the star of part 3, which I totally blanked on. What do I want to say? Oh, episode 2. Final Destination 2 as well features, is it Michael Landis? Is that cat's name? Yeah. So he's the cop. All right. Okay. And he was on a show that I loved back when the UPN still existed called Special Unit 2, which was a sub part of the police in Chicago that handled fairy tale supernatural stuff. So they actually were the cops that hunted down, like, the Invisible Man, the Headless Horseman, Bigfoot, that kind of thing. It was a fun little show, out of print. Can't find it. Well, actually, it's on the Internet Archive, which is where I just found it. So I'm very happy to start revisiting that show again. I think I'm done. Matt, what are your thoughts? Why don't you start off and tell us what Final Destination Bloodlines is all about? I guess that's what I'm saying is that I enjoyed my trip down the Final Destination memory lane. All right, sorry, please.
No problem. The film starts off in typical Final Destination fashion where a person foresees the death of dozens and dozens of people, including themselves, and they take action to prevent that from happening. Well, in this one, the conceit is a young woman named Iris in the 60s prevents the deaths of hundreds of people, including her fiance and her unborn child, from a tragic building accident. Well, Death being Death decides that this is not so cool. And because there were so many people that she saved, it's gone through all the way down all of those people, plus killing all of their descendants and children and grandchildren because they weren't supposed to exist either. Well, Iris and Mr. Tony Todd are the last 2 survivors. And when Iris dies, it becomes time for her children and grandchildren to pay the price.
That's right, Matt. So, all right. So you've only seen the first 3 films.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I were to rank them, I probably would go 3 Actually, no, I don't want to spoil where I'm going to go because I don't want to tell you where this one will slots in, right? I should
Okay.
probably do that at the end.
Yeah, fair.
But I think it's safe to say that 4 and 5, I think, are the worst in the series.
Okay.
With those 3, all right, I don't know how much you remember as well, but how does this one work for you as part of the franchise? Was it scary, or was it one of the things where, again, we're just slotting in somebody to get killed, whatever kind of crazy Rube Goldberg contraption we can come up with to kill somebody, and it's all just cannon fodder until we move on to the next victim? Or is there something perhaps more interesting happening here? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily something more interesting happening here. I think it knows what it is, right? It is as you put it, a Rube Goldberg machine of creative death scenes that are very gory. They're ludicrous in their execution. Really, it's all just kind of a bunch of build up suspense and fake out, right? Of trying to get somebody, see what's going to happen and who's it going to happen to and all that kind of stuff. And overall, I mean, if that's what you're going in to get this, that's what you're going to get. I mean, overall, I think it sits with the formula. The deaths are creative. The principals involved are not unlikable, right? They're, kind of a tight, they're a family, which is a little different than what you got in the past, or at least of the ones I've seen, where it's a bunch of friends and things like that. But overall, I think the deaths are creative. I think the tension is built well, and it's kind of silly. And, that also makes it kind of enjoyable as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think going back and forth, this may be the best one in the series.
Mm-hmm.
I felt it was the most, and just work with me here, emotionally resonant out of all of them. And not just because it's just Tony Todd, I mean, I'm not talking Kramer versus Kramer family dynamics either. But I think the family feel that they're going for in this film works. At least it works well enough for me to get invested in the characters and I'd say that too, that the characters feel kind of really well developed. They don't exist just as caricatures to find a really weird, bizarre way to kill them. I actually got invested in some of our characters' little idiosyncrasies, their foibles, their little own mini plot lines type of thing, the family dynamic stuff. It was interesting enough to kind of keep me involved, and I'm not just looking at my watch waiting for a bowling ball to fall out of an apartment building, bounce off an awning, get ricochet off a mailbox, and then kill somebody. Right? So I think kudos to the team for pulling that off. I think the film is successful in getting us to actually maybe hope that some of these people are going to make it too, and they're not going to die. The beginning of it, when we get introduced, when we're back in time, and it's 1968, and that whole part of it kind of ran a little long for me, though. I do enjoy the fact that there were people in my audience too cheering when that kid took it.
Right.
The little kid who was just an absolute little Dennis the Menace little punk.
Sure.
When he got his, everybody was pretty excited at my theater, laughing and shrieking all at the same time, which is exactly what you're going for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say too, I thought a lot of the kills were pretty elaborate and interesting. I think the fake outs here were better than a lot of the ones we've seen in the prior films. And again, it's a nice send off for Tony Todd. You can clearly see he is not well in this film, especially when I'm revisiting the older ones, and just physically how much more of an imposing presence he was in those. And I'm just glad he kind of had this moment to sail off into the sunset there, or ride off into sunsets. Would you sail off into the sunset as well?
Sure. It could be any of those things, or he could be retiring off into the sunset, as the case may be in this particular film.
Sure. Sounds good. So, it's pretty damn good. All right. And that's what my notes are, Matt. I said, Matt, I wrote down, Matt, it's good, Matt. Good, goody, good. That's exactly what I wrote. And if you're a Final Destination fan, I think you're going to be very, very happy with this film. And it kind of has like a modern sensibility to it, where some of the older films are very much movies of their time. A lot of that is because of the technology, which I loved revisiting, watching people using flip phones and somebody complaining about forgetting their iPod at home and little things like that. Those films are really trapped in a bit of a time bubble thing. This one, though, feels a little more present and almost universal in its time frame, maybe because it jumps back and forth. I don't know. But also its use of violence and gore is, I think, on par with a lot of the good horror films we've been seeing for the last couple of years. So it's not just kind of a hackneyed kind of reboot attempt of the franchise, though maybe in its heart that's what we're going for. but I think it's still very successful. And I'm sitting on a B+ for Bloodlines, Matt.
I don't know if I can be that generous with it. I think I'm going to give it a B-. I don't think it really does anything to elevate itself from the pack here. And honestly, maybe I need to watch the rest of them and revisit the ones that I've seen to see where this one would slot in, and maybe I'll appreciate it more. But I had an overall a pretty good time with it.
That's good. Yeah, I would go 3, then this one, part 2, the first one, and then 5, and then 4.
Okay.
The Final Destination, which is the 4th film, is not good. It is not good. But and the writing in it is really atrocious, and the performance is like the people I think in that 4th film are genuinely unlikable,
right?
And it just makes the viewing experience very difficult. So yeah, I don't know. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Just an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. What do you think of the Final Destination Bloodlines? Do you recall enough to give it a ranking at all? That sounds like no. You said you'd have to revisit them, right?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I watched them. It's not something that it's like, oh, let's watch Final Destination. That doesn't really happen.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you too. I don't know if I can recommend you revisiting them on Max or something too. I feel like there's a lot of other things that are better use of your time.
Sure.
So, which makes me really sad about my own life. It was weird too in part 3. There's a scene where Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she's got a bunch of photos, and she's looking through the photos, and she's able to see how the other people are going to die. Like there's little hints and clues, right? What's going to happen. She drops the photos around the ground and she picks them up, and there's one that's still there, and it's a plane casting a shadow on the Twin Towers.
Wow.
Now, this is after 9/11. This is 2003. So, okay. But it's not cool, man.
Yeah.
It's just not
bad taste.
I was really shocked by that. So, it's weird. I don't get it. All right. It's currently in theater still. Feedback@firstrun.com. We'd love to hear from you. Matt, let's talk about what's coming up on physical media this upcoming Tuesday. What date is that? It's 27th. Holy cats. We're almost through May already. All right. Let's hear a clip of something that's being released in 4K. I believe it's from Kino Lorber. I just picked up the first film on Blu-ray, and I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I haven't would want to revisit this film for a very long time. I adored the original when it first came out. I think the sequel is pretty good, but I probably haven't seen it since the theater.
All right, our special guest right now, Wayne Campbell, Garth Elgar, Wayne's World. All right, talking about Wayne Stock. Very exciting, big event. Everybody's excited, huh?
Yeah, it's going to be a big concert at Adlai Stevenson Park. It's just going to be a big party, you know. We got some great bands coming.
Like Aerosmith.
I just want to remind everybody that there's still plenty of tickets left.
But that's no reason to wait till the last minute.
Because it's just a chance for the city of Aurora
to do something
fun and to put the city on the map.
It's a lot of work.
Oh, well, work is hard.
You're not really listening to me, are you? I mean, I could say anything right now, like you're a complete tool.
But you wouldn't hear it, because you're a freak with a microphone.
It's not even challenging anymore. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Isn't that true, Sphincter Boy?
What? Oh! They're getting closer all the time. All right, good information about Wayne Stock. Very exciting. We'll be back with more right after Pig Sports. Right now, it's 16 minutes past the big hour. Is that not right, Mr. Scream?
That, of course, is a clip from Wayne's World 2. Harry Shearer playing the DJ. I think his name is like, what is it? Something Handsome? Good. I can't remember what it is.
Handsome Dan.
Handsome Dan. Thank you very much. So, so that's going to drop in on 4K, Matt. If you wanted to pick that up, it does include a brand new 4K scan of the original 35mm negative, audio commentary with the director, and a couple of featurettes. Not a lot. Kind of basically not much on that release from Kino Lorber. Also coming out here, I guess we should start our countdown, shall we? We shall.
Number 5.
The Woman in the Yard, Wami Kole Sarah, his latest film about a mysterious woman who repeatedly appears in a family's front yard, often delivering chilling warnings or unsettling messages, leaving the residents to question her identity, motives, and the potential dangers she might pose. He did Carry On, which we enjoyed, but he also did a lot of subpar Liam Neeson January, February action films as well. So I don't know, your mileage may vary. Depends on what you want to do there. Where are we? 4?
4.
I got to decide. I'm going to go with Queer from A24. There is a Blu-ray Digibox edition being released exclusively on their website, or exclusively from them. It might show up. I think it's A24 started showing up in like Walmart and Barnes and Noble too. So it includes a commentary with a director as well as a costume designer, writer, editor, and production designer, a featurette, a scene breakdown, and more. Man, Daniel Craig is just trying to put as much distance between him and James Bond as possible. So good for him on that, I guess. I'm always interested to see what he's going to do next. What should I go with, man? I have so many options to choose from.
Get 3 coffins ready.
In My Skin is being released from Severin. It's about a woman who grows increasingly fascinated with her body after suffering a disfiguring accident. And it's supposed to be a really weird, gross kind of body horror film. It's written and directed by why am I blanking? There it is. Yeah, Marina Divan. She also stars in it. Includes a commentary by her and some making of featurettes as well. There's a whole ton of stuff there, and there's an exclusive release slipcase you can get if you buy it directly from Severin. It's supposed to be really weird and creepy, so and unsettling, like most body horror films tend to be, right?
I have 2 words: perfect love and perfect trust.
Criterion is putting out The 3 and the 4 Musketeers. This is the original film that Richard Lester, I believe, directed the first one at least. I'm not sure about the second one, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Includes 4K restorations and a new documentary and another 2-part documentary and more. But these are the old Musketeer films from the 70s. Mm-hmm. So Criterion is putting those out. And I'm at 1, right? All right, we'll go with 1.
There can be only one.
Criterion is putting out a 4K of Killer of Sheep. This is Charles Burnett's film set in Watts area of L.A. A slaughterhouse worker must suspend his emotions, continue working on a job he finds repugnant, and then he finds he has little sensitivity for the family he worked so hard to support. Largely unseen, Matt, for decades following its completion in 1977, Killer of Sheep is now recognized as a touchstone of the groundbreaking LA Rebellion movement and a masterpiece that brought Black American lives to the screen with an aching intimacy like no film before. Includes audio commentary, new interviews, a new appreciation by filmmaker Barry Jenkins, 2 short films as well, The Several Friends and The Horse, with a new introduction to the latter by the director Charles Burnett, and more. Also coming out, Matt, one of my favorite comedies the past few years, Bottoms. I actually pre-ordered it. It was $14, I think, on Amazon for a pre-order on Blu-ray. And the day the Earth blew up, the Warner Brothers, this is the film with, I think it's Porky Pig and Daffy Duck. Okay. That was originally shelved, but since been purchased by Ketchup Entertainment, and they are going to go ahead and release it. Other 4K releases is Kingdom of Heaven. It's getting a steelbook of the director's cut, Ridley Scott's director's cut, of course. Starman is getting a 4K release steelbook, a film that I don't care for. And then finally, the comedy Kingpin being released by Kino Lorber in 4K as well. But I'm not done after I said finally. Scent of a Woman by Shout Factory, Sky Captain the World of Tomorrow by Shout Factory, and then Bruno Mattei's Rats in Hell of the Living Dead, both getting individual releases in 4K. I have the Blu-ray of those. They're not good. They're just not good films. But people love them. Classic Italian kind of cult horror, right? So why not? Viper Video Pick of the Week, Matt. Beelzebub, who's a name we have not mentioned here in a very long time, is back with a new film. He plays Jesus in Jesus is an Asshole. Mary cheats on Joseph and gets pregnant. Her excuse? A god impregnated her. Her son is told the lie and he acts like a god despite not having any power. Mary is married to Joseph, who is impotent, which compels Mary to seek pleasure with another man. I don't know why this is in here twice. When she becomes pregnant, she has to come up with a good excuse. We're talking about that. The only thing I can think of is snort notices that God chose her to carry his offspring. So Beelzebub, back, purveyor of just kind of low budget, sleazy kind of films. I know, I think Mike, that used to run Grindhouse Video here in Tampa before they moved to Knoxville, he was a big fan of Bill's work, if I'm remembering correctly. So, yeah, if you like your trash, Bill's your guy. Matt, what should we be streaming this week?
So I'm going to recommend a little slasher film that from earlier in the year that we really enjoyed. Hard Eyes is available on Netflix now. It's kind of a Valentine's themed horror slasher film that's tongue in cheek. It's got some good kills in it. It's actually quite a bit of fun.
Good pick, Matt. All right, let's close up the show and share our 5 favorite Final Destination ridiculously elaborate kills.
I so feel this is so my fault.
How could it possibly be your fault?
Seeing women is nothing but fun bags. I mean, if I had seen their, whatever, humanity, they wouldn't have felt the pressure to look so good. Impress Franklin cheeks. Go on diets, deodorize, stretch, tan.
Don't be down, Frankie. Be proud of your ability to make everything that happens somehow a story about you.
Franklin Cheeks may be my favorite character in the entire franchise. He's in part 3. Just absolute. He graduated 2 years ago prior to everybody else, but he still hangs out at the high school. He has a little video camera trying to take videos of the young women, and he's just a lecherous creep, and it is just really chef's kiss, perfect performance in that film. Again, I love the anachronistic. Well, it's not anachronistic because it's the time, but they had one of them. Marilyn Winstead character had like one of those little silver digital cameras. You remember when people actually carried cameras around with them?
Yeah.
Lots of memory lane stuff, Matt. I'll go first. I'll give you the ultimate number 1. Where am I going to go? I'm going to go with the icon, Matt. I think the kill that I think everybody thinks of when they think of the Final Destination franchise, a kill that has spawned 1,000 memes, or at least uses of, if not into the millions, which is every time somebody drives behind a truck carrying a log, they make some kind of joke about it. But it is when the police officer gets killed by the falling log off the truck, and it shoots through the police car and basically obliterates our cop. The log death from Final Destination 2 is my 5.
All right. My number 5 then is the end of Final Destination, the original Final Destination, where the characters are kind of walking down the road. They basically have successfully cheated death, that, they've all gotten through it. And then obviously you see a swinging billboard that goes to cut, that basically is swinging towards the character who had dared to have such hubris, when it cuts to black with a satisfying thunk. It's very on the nose. It's a very kind of a cliched thing, but it's kind of cemented what this franchise was really all about.
I find out later on when you watch it, I think it's part 2, what happened to Devon Sawa, the star of the first film. Oh, he dies. I guess he got killed by a falling brick walking out of his apartment, which I think is...
Yeah.
Really? That's
how
it, huh?
Yeah.
And with one thing too that I enjoyed, I don't know if I'm spoiling it, you're never going to watch it. Final Destination 5 is actually a prequel film to the first film, because the 2 people who survive, they find a way to cheat death. One of the running themes is him taking a job as a chef in Paris. And if you remember in the first film, they're all going on a flight to France as a school trip.
Yeah.
And him and his girlfriend are on that flight.
Oh, okay.
So basically the movie ends with Devon Sawa getting kicked off the plane, and everybody, and that's... So I like that. That is nice and clever. My number 4 then is the laser eye surgery torture, because that's not really what kills her in Final Destination 3. But I do have a weird thing about eyes. That's why I don't wear contacts, because I can't touch my eyeballs. It just makes me uncomfortable. I just don't want to do it. So anything involving eyes is unsettling to me. But basically what happens is she gets stuck in the chair, can't move, doctor leaves, and of course fate, death, does really weird, crazy stuff to ramp up the laser for her eye surgery to 11, to quote Spinal Tap, and things go horribly, horribly wrong for her.
Right. So my number 4 then is from, again, the original Final Destination. Kerr Smith, he decides, you know what, screw this. He's going to take this into his own hands. He's not going to wait for some Rube Goldberg death to get him. And he decides that he's going to, drive out onto the train tracks and just wait for a train to come along and smash his car, right? But of course he chickens out. And of course, then you have this kind of high stakes, suspenseful scene where he's trying to get out, when finally he's pulled out by Sean William Scott and saved. And they're all kind of like patting each other on the back, saying, man, that was close, when a piece of shrapnel flies up from underneath the train and decapitates Sean William Scott right in front of them. Again, showing the humor in the series. 90s it boy Sean William Scott it's always good to see him in a film.
It's funny too, because I was watching that and I thought it was weird, because usually he plays kind of egotistical kind of bad guy type roles, right? Or not in that one. He's kind of very much an average kind of kid. So, if I have to go with decapitations in the franchise, I got to go with the elevator guillotine from Final Destination 2. It's not on my list, honorable mention for me, but that's probably my favorite decapitation, which is a weird phrase to utter in the entire film series. So my number 3 then is, unfortunately, from a film Matt will never watch, and as I said, the second worst in the series, the gymnastics death in Final Destination 5. The young woman is doing the her practice thing on the, I think it's the uneven bars, and of course death intervenes, everything goes horribly wrong, and she does a bunch of flips, and when she falls, she basically lands on her head, and then her spine cracks on the top of her, and then bones and the spine come out of the body. It's gross,
right?
But it is it's pretty good. It is the audio design or audio editing in that, the sound editing in that is really well done.
Yeah,
and, so that's a good one.
All right, well then, Chris stole my thunder a little bit. My number 3 then is the elevator decapitation scene from Final Destination 2. I think what really sells it is when Linda Boyd, she gets her head caught in the thing. She's futilely trying to get through her, and that whole scratching, like her gouges in the door as she's trying to pull herself out and keep it from happening, and just ripping apart her fingernails is just gross. But it sells the scene for sure.
Yeah, I was just about to say that's what sells it is the nail lines in the metal doors of the elevator. Absolutely. So my number, where am I? 2? My number 2 is the tanning bed fire where the 2 women die in Final Destination 3. I have a feeling that might be on Matt's list, so I won't say too much about it, but it is disturbing and gross and really just unsettling the way the whole thing unfolds, but then the fire, how they basically burn alive inside these 2 tanning beds. What's crazy is, as I'm watching the films, Matt, at their funeral, one of the guys does like a little memorial thing and talks about how horrible it is that they didn't make it to be 18. And then I'm like, wait a minute, because they're naked in that scene.
Fair enough.
I don't like the implication there at all.
Different time, I guess. I don't know.
Yes,
but I mean, they're probably really 27 playing 17-year-olds.
Oh, absolutely. But okay,
fair enough. Yeah, it's my number 2 as well. Yeah, I mean the whole thing. I mean, as somebody especially who's very pale, who burns very easily, the idea of even being in a tanning bed is just anathema to me. So when their skin is just like blistering off and the radiation's just like eating them alive, then it cuts to them being, trapped in the burning room, and just the claustrophobicness of it is just awful. But yeah, it's pretty creative and giving these 2 girls their comeuppance.
So my number 1 then is actually going to be from the most recent film, Bloodlines.
Oh, nice.
And that is the MRI machine death. Because when you mess with death is going to mess back, all right? It's going to get messy. And since I will kind of hold off describing it because the film is in theaters now and you may have not had a chance to check it out yet. But it, for me, is one of the grossest, but also the funniest of all the deaths, I think, in the entire franchise.
Yeah.
So I guess that's all I'll say. But it's my number 1 is the MRI machine death in Bloodlines.
Yeah, so my number 1 then is the opening pileup in Final Destination 2. I mean, the whole thing is just it just brings the stakes up to 11. I think my favorite part of these films is seeing how those initial death chain reaction is going to happen, right? And I think I think the best one of the ones that I've seen. So I really enjoyed it. It's obviously become a meme, but it's really well done. It's the one that's actually kind of believable. So yeah, I think overall it's probably my favorite one.
Yeah, out of all the initial death scenes, the triggering ones, that I agree with you. That is the best one, I think, out of the entire franchise.
Yeah.
So do you have any honorable mentions then?
I think the only honorable mention that I'll say is I think the death of I think her name is Julie in the new one, involving a garbage truck. While it was pretty straightforward and simple, the execution is chef's kiss, absolutely revolting. So I was on board for that one.
Basically, that's the other honorable mention I had as well. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. All right, folks, what are your favorite deaths in the Final Destination franchise? Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. We'd love to hear from you. I got to stop saying that. I've said that, I think, 4 or 5 times now. So, Matt, what's coming up next week on The Big Show?
Oh, well, we're finally starting to get into true summer movie season. We're going to check out the last question mark entry in the Tom Cruise version of Mission Impossible with MI Final Reckoning.
I was thinking about trying to rewatch all of those as well, but I may try and just start with not Fallout. What's the one with
Rogue Nation?
Yeah, Rogue Nation is kind of the beginning of this arc. Right. So yeah, but I don't know. That I really hope that they make this work, because I was not impressed with, was it Last Reckoning Part 1?
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't like the idea of the AI becoming sentient and alive and as an idea, it just seems like lukewarm and kind of half thought out,
Sure.
Underbaked.
Sure.
We'll see. But it's Tom, right? I'm sure he wants to go out big. Keep in mind, Matt, too, just about 2 hours, 48 minutes, I think, on this one, too. So
awesome.
I signed up for the IMAX for this time, because they did shoot it in IMAX. So I think there are going to be expanded scenes.
Gotcha.
I thought I'd go that route. I know usually we default to Dolby, but I thought I'd go IMAX for this one because of that.
Fair enough. In the meantime, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky. Do a search for The First Run. Scroll. Eventually you'll find us. Head on over to Apple Podcasts. Give us a review to help other people find the show. And go over to thefirstrun.com. We have archives of all the old shows. There's a little player there. Just hit play, and then episodes will start popping for you. And that is it. So we're going to go ahead, take an extended break. We love you all very much, and we will see you soon.
You all just be careful now.